Facebook is dropping out of the Sword Art Online dream to pursue fully the Ready Player One dream for VR. Netflix is looking more and more like it's going to develop VR games. Steam Deck is set to disappoint overly eager VR stands, and we have some new games and interesting mods for you to check out. All that, but first, it looks like Oculus is going to actually stop selling the base 64GB Quest 2 and replace it with a 128GB version. Currently, the Quest 2 is available in 64 and 256GB. Now, this is all speculation, but it's based on some pretty interesting facts. First, the 64GB Quest 2 isn't available for purchase in the United States on Amazon or on Oculus itself. Second, photos have been shared of the Oculus box that says 128GB on the outside, and several users on Reddit claim that they've seen the same box in inventory at various stores that they work at. Third, a French electronics retailer briefly listed a 128GB model on their website earlier this month, and the most interesting fact about this is that it was listed at the same price as the 64GB model. And then finally, a Quest 2 ad in a Shonen Jump Plus manga showed 128-256GB in an ad for the Oculus Quest 2. Now, I think this is awesome for Facebook to start offering more storage at a lower price. This just again shows that games are getting bigger and that will need more storage. But as with many things that Facebook does, it feels like they're taking their loyal customers that have already bought the 64GB model and just throwing them right off a cliff. When Facebook has previously made this mistake, they offer the promo or upgrade to previous customers. For example, they held an Asgards Wrath promo shortly after the launch of the Quest 2, where if you ordered the Quest 2 before or around the launch, you actually didn't get the game, and that people who bought the Quest 2 after the launch got it. And that pretty much pissed off a lot of people who pre-ordered the game, like I pre-ordered the game and a lot of other people who ordered it around launch. Facebook eventually gave in and ended up giving Asgards Wrath to everyone that bought a Quest 2 leading up to the end of the promo, but obviously they can't just do that same thing with extra storage, and when this is officially announced, I'm waiting to hear the whole community lose their mind complaining about this and expecting Facebook to send them a brand new Quest over it, which is kind of ridiculous. But now moving on to other news, in 2017, Facebook announced its goal to develop brain-computer interfaces with the expressed goal of being able to send messages by thinking. This was to be used as a hands-free interface that you could use in a virtual reality and would have been a major step towards the SAO version of VR. But Facebook just announced that they're going to stop funding for this research because they believe that brain reading is still very far off, and frankly, I have to agree with them. The Ready Player One future of VR is already essentially here, and I personally doubt that the SAO version is even possible. That said, Facebook is still working on some neural interfaces in the form of head-mounted optical displays, which is apparently somehow different from mind reading, I guess? Wait a second, I just said Facebook is giving up on Sword Art Online, but yet here Facebook is saying that they're not giving up on head-mounted optical brain-computer interfaces. I'm gonna be honest here, as a very not tech-savvy person, reading these things can get very confusing very quickly. So the last thing I'll say about this is that it seems Facebook is at least focusing more on technologies that have a nearer path to the market, at least according to the blog post talking about all of this. And this is again probably better for us, the consumers, because instead of them wasting money on something that again actually probably isn't possible, they're going to invest in products that we can actually see in the near future, and that excites me. As much as I want to hate this handsome devil, I can't help but admire all that he's done for VR. VR has the potential to not only make you smarter, but actually improve your mental health. According to a new study, VR has induced mice to experience more theta rhythms in their brain when exposed to virtual reality. Now you might be thinking, what the crap are theta rhythms and what do they have to do with cognition? Apparently, and to be honest, I just learned this yesterday as I was writing the script, so take this with a massive grain of salt, but apparently the brain thinks in syncopated beats, and the most common of them is the theta beat. It is extremely active when you're awake and more active when walking, and completely dormant when sleeping. For years, scientists have attempted to boost theta rhythms with drugs, and now finally it appears that we can do it with just virtual reality. So far, this has only been done on mice by putting them on a treadmill with screens all around them, but it is fascinating to imagine the applications this could have for people with cognitive decline. We already know that it's easier to learn in VR, and this study just helps us to understand potentially why that is. I've said it before and I'll say it again, VR is the future. Haters can hate, but just like they got left in the dust in their horse-drawn carriages when cars were invented, so will we advance farther as a society as we adopt these new and amazing technologies. And society is adopting VR more and more every day. According to a new poll, nearly a quarter of Americans have tried VR or AR, and within this group, 31% own a headset, and 90% of those who have tried the headset said they're likely to use one again. Breaking this down by demographics, Gen Z and millennials are the most excited for VR, and those who make more money usually are the most excited as well, which kind of makes sense considering how VR is seen as something really expensive and hard to access. Overall, from the whole poll, only 28% of participants were excited for the future of VR, only slightly more than those who have actually tried it. Another report which just came out is now suggesting that by 2025, VR will be the fastest growing medium segment, growing faster than any other, including cinema. And honestly, this is kind of to be expected. VR is a new medium for entertainment, and new things always grow faster than old things. The VR market size will still be extremely small, smaller than cute anime traps in VR chat, when compared to the total market size of the gaming industry as a whole. But still, I don't think we are in a competition for VR to compete with gaming. Pancake gaming will always be around. I just want to see more increased interest in the format so that studios produce more content for it and see the value that VR has. And honestly, more studios are taking interest in VR actually. I mean, you've seen me talk about how many people have been investing in VR recently. And more recently, just last week, I mentioned that Netflix has struck a deal to possibly start making a gaming and VR content for their services. Well, this possibility is looking to be more of a reality because Mike Verdu, Facebook's VP of AR and VR content, just got hired to Netflix to work on none other than game development. Now, this initial conclusion might be that this is obviously for VR, but you have to remember that Verdu actually worked at other gaming companies in the past in non-VR position. He's worked for everyone from EA to Zynga and Atari. At the very least, we can expect Netflix to be working on some sort of gaming content, but I wouldn't get your hopes up for anything VR related just yet. Another thing to not get your hopes up in and a twist all about is the new Steam Deck. Everyone is talking about the new Steam Deck, and honestly, I'm sick of it. There were a lot of people in the VR community who were betting that Steam was getting ready to release a new VR hardware, and when it turned out to be just a Nintendo ripoff, instead of feeling disappointed, they're now deluding themselves with the idea that this will actually run VR. Now let's get two things out of the way. First, I still believe Valve is getting ready to release a follow-up to the Valve Index sometime in the next year. And second, the Steam Deck has been reported to not be targeted to work with VR at all. And if you have any sanity left, I wouldn't get your hopes up thinking that it could possibly work with VR. Sure, you might be able to experience an extremely low-end VR experience, but don't expect it to run smoothly or at any quality resolution. If I'm not mistaken, the Steam Deck will be playing games at 720p, so it doesn't need that much processing. Now imagine trying to use that same hardware to run AAA VR games at 1080p minimum twice. Not just once, remember you gotta render things twice in VR. That's not likely going to be very good. I'm excited to see people get their hands on it to see exactly what it will run, but I'm not getting my hopes up for it to run VR, especially because some of the people who have already ordered it aren't getting theirs until the third quarter of next year, or at least 6 months after the launch. So even if it could run VR, you're probably not going to get your hands on it anytime soon. Speaking of Steam and Valve, if you're a Portal fan, you might be interested in the new Half-Life Alyx mod that lets you play Portal 2 in VR. The mod, called Aperture VR, Thinking Without Portals, is recreating the classic Portal 2 test chambers, but unfortunately there's no portal gun. But again, there are some puzzles that you can do with the gravity glove, so if that interests you, again, that's the mod Aperture VR Thinking Without Portals that you can go check out for Half-Life Alyx. What? This is a new game available on Quest via App Lab and PC VR via Steam. It is a psychedelic puzzle game that supposedly stole from is similar to some puzzles from Half-Life Alyx. It looks very colorful and trippy, so I can only imagine what it would be like for someone using psychedelics. Don't do that though, please. It's not good. Use Trip instead for your psychedelic trip needs. It's a fantastic app. Mixed Realms, the developers behind Sirento VR, just released a teaser for the next game, Hellsweeper VR. This game, which is supposed to release at the end of next year, 2022, looks heavily inspired from Japanese culture, and it looks like a bloody awesome time. I couldn't get myself into Sirento because it felt dated at the time, and I was more interested in other games like Population 1. But this game looks like an extremely welcome addition to VR, almost like a Japanese Blade and Sorcerer. I mean, just look at this trailer. This game looks freaking awesome, and I honestly cannot wait to see it come out to market. Also, two games just joined the Platinum Club of selling over 1 million copies of their games. Moss and Gorn, two very different games, one a cutesy family game that everyone can love, and another a bloody mess that would send chills up your great-grandmother's grave, are both proving that VR can be extremely profitable. It is important to note that both of these games have been available for several years already, and they aren't exactly new. Both released originally for other platforms before coming to the Quest, and now, recently with the Quest 2's massive success, they finally had a path to get their success of getting over 1 million copies sold. This this is indicative of what's going to happen to most VR games, where if you want any form of success, you're probably going to have to be on the Quest 2. And also, in case you missed it, Township Tale just released for Quest and might just be one of the best games that you can get on Quest now. I haven't played it yet because I couldn't get the PC version to work with the virtual desktop yet, but I have seen gameplay and it does look really promising. If there's enough demand for it, I'll download the game and put out a full review, but I just want to make sure that you don't miss this game because unlike many other releases, I feel like this one has wide appeal and it's running to be one of the best games of 2021. Especially because the other contenders for the best game in 2021 are games like Sniper Elite, The Climb 2, and The Oblivion Afterlife, at least according to one source. So far, I have to say the only new game that I've bought and continued to play has been Demio, but I have high hopes for After the Fall and Lone Echo 2 if that ever releases. Come on, just release it. It was supposed to be summer. Summer's almost over. Please just give us Lone Echo 2. Anyways, that's it for this video. I just put out a video where I compared different tiers of VR chat avatars from Fiverr, which I think was a pretty interesting experiment. You can check out the results here in this video, and spoiler, the most expensive one has been described in the comments as being someone's sleep paralysis demon. So yeah. Anyways, that's it. I'm out.